Returning to Worcester for his second season with the Railers, hardly needs any introduction. It's reigning team MVP John Muse. Moose, welcome back to Worcester.
Thank you. I'm excited to sign and come back.
Talk about that excitement. Obviously, you had a great year last year with the Railers, which we'll delve into. But what is it about coming back to Worcester that was just really enticing for you?
Uh, Obviously, the organization is top notch. It's by far one of the best organizations I've been a part of in my entire professional career. Just the way they treat you. Ownership wants to win, and there's an emphasis on winning. And I think that goes by the wayside with a lot of minor league teams. So I looked at that and I took that into consideration. And and obviously the fact that close to home, close to family, that's all obviously a plus as well.
Just expanding beyond the desire to come back to Worcester, what is it that made you want to come back for another year of pro hockey in general, this deep into your career?
I still love playing. I still love coming to the rink every day. Obviously, one of the older guys, different role this year, but it was a good experience. I love being around all the young guys. We had a really young team. It took a little getting used to. Obviously, I hadn't been in that position before on a team, so it was a lot of fun though. A lot of fun being around guys coming to the rink. That those young guys have all the energy, and it's a good thing to feed off of.
Talking a little bit more about your process and coming back to Worcester. Talk about what your conversations were like with head coach Bob Duraney, now head coach, obviously assistant coach for the team last year, and GM and associate head coach Nick Tozolino.
Yeah, Bob and I had talked before. He got the head coaching job, and when I found out, I was really excited for him. I got along great with Bob last year. I think he's a great coach, a lot of knowledge when it comes to hockey. And excited to see how he does, moving forward as a head coach. And then Tuz, I had played with him, a handful of years ago. So we were familiar with each other. He actually called me when I was in China, which is funny enough. And that was the first time we had talked since he took the job. And it was an open dialogue. We were honest with each other. He said that this is what they want to do with the team moving forward. I said what I wanted to do, and we were able to come to an agreement. And luckily, I'm going to be back.
Expand on your relationship with Bob a little bit more. He's a former Hockey East goalie himself, albeit for the other side of the BU BC rivalry there. But talk about what bits of insight you've been able to get out of him.
He's awesome. Playing professional hockey, it's a long season. It's every day at the rink. It's a lot of travel. It's tough to keep up the energy throughout the entire season. I think Bob does a great job of coming to the rink every single day with a lot of energy, smile on his face, ready to go. And I think guys feed off of that. And I really respect that because I know how hard it is to come to the rink every single day when you're traveling and playing and practicing, for the entire season, with a smile on your face. So that's something I definitely look up to him for. I think I try to feed off of that as well, just in terms of helping out the young guys with learning how to be a pro.
I want to learn a little bit more about your process this year. Obviously, you're knowing you're coming into camp this season with the contract signing, but this time last year, you were still looking for a place to play. You didn't end up with a team until you landed with the Railers in mid-December. But just talk about what you're doing this time last year compared to this season.
To be honest, I'm doing the same exact stuff. And I think throughout the past handful of years that I've been doing this, there's some off seasons where I know July 1st, and there's some off seasons where I don't know until January 1st. I just go into each off season with the same plan. I work out, 4 days a week. I get on the ice twice a week. I do an entire routine throughout the summer, and get my body ready to play for a full season. So this season is no different than last season. I'm doing the same things that I was doing last season, and I'm excited that I'm not going to have to be working out every week until December this time around. we'll be able to get into a training camp right away and get on the ice and play.
Let's talk about last December. You joined the team when the Railers were in need of a goalie in a pinch, and obviously a local option, but it ended up working out for the best. You established yourself as one of the top goalies in the ECHL, finished tied for 12th in save percentage, team MVP last season. Just talk about the journey you went on last season.
Yeah, it was awesome. Coming in, I told Smo and Bob that if I was going to go somewhere, it wasn't just to go somewhere. I wanted to go and play games, and I knew I could still play at a high level. And I wanted to go in, play games. I wanted to win games. Obviously, how last season ended was pretty rough. It's not exactly how we envisioned it. It was pretty disappointing, to be honest, regardless of all the personal accolades and whatnot.
Talk about that a little bit more. Just, a lot of the guys I've been talking to have been expressing this sort of chip on their shoulder mentality heading into next season.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's a long season. You work out. It's not even just the season, to be honest. Guys start working out in June, at the latest probably, and you go all the way through. And to miss out on playoffs is pretty disheartening. You put all that time and effort in throughout the season, summer, and not be able to play for something at the end of the year is pretty brutal. So I think you take that into consideration and get ready for the next season and do everything possible to make sure that doesn't happen again.
In looking back and a bit more of a light year towards last season, what were some of your favorite memories you say you had in your first season with the Railers?
We had a great group of guys. It was a lot of fun, a lot of young guys, but guys had a lot of fun. Guys came to the rink and worked hard. That type of relationship with your teammates is something that keeps me going, to be honest. That's the best part of hockey in my eyes. Growing that bond with your teammates throughout the season and sharing something like when the season's finished. I think that's what makes winning so important. And so, being able to win with a group of guys that you've created such a great bond with is something you remember forever.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about from last season, team went down to Fort Myers, checked out Red Sox spring training. You're a huge baseball guy. Have you been following along with the Red Sox season so far here?
I have. It's been a pleasant surprise so far. I'm hoping they can hang on for another couple months and make the playoffs and hopefully go on a little bit of a run.
Did you think when we were in training camp this past February here that that's what we were going to be seeing come July?
Absolutely not. To be honest, we were walking around training camp and um, it wasn't the type of teams you're used to seeing the Red Sox have. But I guess you got to trust the process that they're putting in place, and they obviously brought in the right guys and the right pieces to make a run at it.
So talking a little bit more about your off season here, you were telling me just before we got on that you went to China for 2 weeks before making your way back to Falmouth. Obviously, you played in China for a little bit, but you were back there for a visit this summer here.
Yeah, my parents. I was a foreign exchange student from China, and I've gotten to know him over the past couple of years that he's been living with my parents. So his family invited me back to China to visit their home city after he was done with school. So yeah, we flew back to Shanghai. Spent a couple nights in Shanghai, and then I went to their city, Jinan, which is about halfway between Beijing and Shanghai. And I spent 8 nights there. It was quite the experience. Shanghai is crazy. It's very westernized. But once we got into Jinan and Shandong, which is their province, it was very Chinese. I went a few days at a time without seeing another white person, so that was quite the experience. But I'm glad I did it. Glad I saw a different part of the world. Really gives me appreciation for where I live and how I grew up.
So you'd say it was a somewhat different experience from when you were there playing as a player.
Yeah, mostly because Beijing is very westernized as well.
Right.
So it's not, obviously there are, you know, it's China, so not everyone speaks English. But in Beijing and Shanghai, you see a sign and it's in Chinese, but there's also an English translation. Um, Whereas this time around, when I was in Jinan, it was much more Chinese and not so westernized. So, but luckily I had the family that I was with to help me out, and it was a great experience.
Then one of the last few things for you here, obviously back in Falmouth, you've got your pizza shop you run down there in Falmouth. Just tell the fans who I don't know if many fans knew this that you do own and run a restaurant down there on the Cape. Just talk about that.
Yeah, it's called Paul's Pizza. Um, it's a great little spot. My brother runs everything. He's in charge of everything. He does a great job. It's obviously really busy in the summer. It's a amazing local spot. Um, my brother bought it 5 years ago or 6 years ago now, maybe. So he's been running it ever since, and yeah, it's one of our favorite spots down here.
We'll have to get you guys to cater a team event during training camp or something like that. Get all the guys excited for the season.
Yeah, hopefully everybody can make it down here.
And then lastly for you here, Moose, just a message for the fans who are excited to see you back in a Railers uniform and excited to see the team play again on October 19th.
Yeah, I'm excited to get back in the DCU and play in front of all the fans. We had great fans last year. I was pleasantly surprised by the turnout every single home game. Obviously, it's a huge lift for the team when the fans are there and being loud and cheering us on.
All right, there you have it. Reigning team MVP John Muse back in a Railers uniform for the 24-25 season. Moose, thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you very much.
All right, perfect.